Me so low. We've been together since we both left school. Workaholics from the get-go, cutting every corner, breaking every rule. Work till we drop, that was our motto. The wife and family will understand. One day soon we'll be riding in a limo. Just one more deal, stick with the plan, 'cause I'm gonna live before I die, make life as good as it gets, so I can wave that big goodbye with no reason for regrets. I'll live before I die. Well, sure enough, the limo rides you, your wife in black, riding in at Lincoln. All the stress, look where it's got you. 6 feet under and now it's got me thinking. I'm gonna live before I die, make life as good as it gets, so I can wave that big goodbye with no reason for regrets. I'll live before I die. Time to examine the things that matter. Take a look at my goals. What would I gain if I had the whole world at the cost of my very soul?
Well, especially I get all these ships are in the way. Go down, I hope the car there man gotta go down, right? Get out of the way. He's coming to that dock there. Quite far.
large covered dock off on the left-hand side you see is known as the Old Argyle Dock. The Argyle was a predecessor to the MS Kenora here on Lake of the Woods. It used to offer lake tours and such, but was also ran a taxi service between downtown Kenora and Coney Island. It would bring people out here by the hundreds on any given summer day. Now they still come by the hundreds to Coney Island, and you will see why as we round the corner. There's a beach, covered picnic area, washrooms, change rooms, walking trails, a large grass field, covered stage, and of course the boardwalk. Now every year they have on Coney Island the annual Coney Island Music Festival. Now the only problem is with Coney Island is that you need a boat to get here. So you have to take the shuttle service or buy a boat. Form the second of three tributaries that flow from the Lake of the Woods into the Winnipeg River system. Now this is the mouth of the Winnipeg River. Field 2 is a gift to Mr. Brackus Brooks. He developed the site as an incentive to expand his paper mill here. Well, when the water gets flowing very fast, over 1,300 cubic meters per second, there's a lot of current, and if your boat was to break down, you'll be drawn down the Winnipeg River and over the Norman Power Dam. Occupied eagle's nest, and we come by here every day. If you keep your eyes peeled, you will see the adult birds normally sitting in one of the trees very close by. Now the birds, they are flying in towards the end of July, and once that happens, they're off and gone, and we hardly see the young birds after that. They're out learning how to be eagles and such. If you look off to your left, slightly behind us, you will see Coney Beach. As we talked about earlier, platform, and they put a slide on the end, and people would slide down the slide back in the early days. It has a lot of history here on Coney Island. It's full of cottages. The whole island, in fact, is developed along the shorelines, over 7 miles of it. Now, some of the properties here have services from the city, such as water, and some pay for their garbage pickup, and a few on the far end of the island we'll see on our way back into town actually have sewer and water services. But one thing they all share in common is they're within the city of Kenora and they pay property taxes. Kenora was originally known as Rat Portage. It got its name from a place called Wujishkanigam, which is translated from the Anishinaabe language to mean the place to where the rats live. You see, this was where Rat Portage was, a very important, but there was no way they were going to have the word rat appear on any of their packaging. So they got together with the town fathers, and they took the KE from Keewatin, the NO from Norman, and the RA from Rat Portage, and changed the name to Kenora. 5 Roses Flower. It still is made to this day.
Put it up. Taking the best side? Yeah, on top there. You're not on your own. No? It should. On the other side? Give me temper beer. I'll show you the best side. Yeah.
Off to the north, you will see Norman Beach. Norman Beach is one of the 5 beaches within the city of Kenora. It's maintained by the city, and it does have a change room and a washroom and that wonderful beach. But one of the most exciting things about it is it's just around the corner from the Dairy Queen. Now, if you wanted to find a Norman Beach, you would take Highway 17 west, and when you got to the set of lights by the Co-op gas station, turn towards the lake, make your way down, find your place to park, and walk on down to the beach. It's very comfortable, and I recommend it for anybody.
You get so tired.
He was a champion.
The large timber frame and glass front structure on the shoreline to the right-hand side is the City of Kenora's new Discovery Center. Its primary role is to house the staff of Tourism Kenora, and there, the Visitor Information Center, which has a very unique interactive experience for discovering the Lake of the Woods region. Please feel free to stop in and learn a little bit more about what there is to see and do in our area. They are open 7 days a week during the summer season. Used by the voyageurs. Now that location was lost to memory for many years until in the last few years a local historian found an old painting of the original rock portage, and he made his way up and down the Winnipeg River until he found the spot that matched, and he was able to identify that. Now all he had to do was ask the Anishinaabe people around here where it was, because that is where many of them stayed and lived for generations and generations up until 1970. This used to be a town in its own right, which was founded in 1877. At one time, Kuwait was home to the Lake of the Woods Milling Company, which was the largest milling center in the British Commonwealth. That mill operated from 1888 to July 3rd, 1967, when the mill was destroyed in a spectacular nighttime fire, never to be rebuilt.
Just going to point out an eagle's nest for you, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at the island that we're going around on our right-hand side, it's called Harris Island. There's a dock on a little bay there. If you look in from that little bay straight up to the center of the island, you'll see there is an eagle's nest up there. So as close as we're going to get to one for you to view at. It's a little smaller than the other ones we usually look at, but it's one that you can easily see. It's an active nest this year.
The Woods Yacht Club. This club is one of 5 in Canada that has been granted permission to use the royal title. In addition to the sailing programs they offer, there is a very active tennis program with 4 tennis courts being located on the hill behind the clubhouse. The clubhouse is used by members for weddings and different social events throughout the summer. One thing about this location is you have to be very careful if you're fishing in this area, is if you were to hook onto one of those cables, you could cause a lot of damage. Now, the people out in this part of the Lake of the Woods can thank a man by the name of Emery Hunt for having telephone service. In the early days, Mr. Hunt had a cottage here, just around the corner out of sight, on Leisure Island. Now, he owned 5 telephone companies, and he controlled all the telephone systems in Nebraska and 5 other states. Well, he contacted Ma Bell, as was the way to do it, to ask for telephone service. He was advised that there's never going to be telephone service there on Lake of the Woods, and that he might as well forget it. Upon returning home, he instructed his engineer.
Strip, and that's where you'll find all these islands is out in the Manitou.
Located off in the distance, slightly to your right, you'll see a large island. That's Town Island. Now, Town Island has a number of water toys. Now, the cabin is owned by a Texas oil man who uses it as his private retreat. He comes up here several weeks during the year, flies in on his private jet, and has his own chauffeur to carry his bags down to the boat and bring them out here to his private getaway on the Lake of the Woods. You'll notice the gazebo that he's built down along the water is larger than most people's houses back on mainland.
As we round this corner, we're going to be going into the Devil's Gap Channel, and coming up on the right-hand side is the former location of the Devil's Gap Lodge, which unfortunately burnt down years back. It was a very lavish hotel in the likes of what CP Rail would build in Banff Springs and Lake Louise. Anyways, we did enjoy looking at a couple monumental fireplaces and their chimneys, the remnants of that fire, but those are torn down for safety reasons. We understand now that it's a future location of the Wigwas Elder Center, which will be supporting those senior citizens from the Rat Portage Reserve. This is also one of those places where I'm mandated by Transport Canada to sound our horn. It's an extremely loud horn. If you're in front of the wheelhouse, I strongly suggest you cover your ears. Please assure that any small children are protected from this loud sound.
And they have an RV park there as well and a grocery store. So please make your way down there and enjoy the beach. The way to find it is you take the Highway 17 east, take the set of lights by the Walmart, turn right, make your way down through the stop sign and you will find Anishinaabe Park. Now at the very bottom of the bay you can make out the golf course, and that's the clubhouse you see there. It's owned by its members, but it is open to the public. So book ahead and have yourself a challenging 18 holes of golf. The blue and white buildings on the shoreline on the right-hand side are the district headquarters for the Canadian Coast Guard here in Lake of the Woods. Their mandate is to maintain all the buoys and aids to navigation that we have seen going by today. This Coast Guard base does not provide rescue services, as this falls under the Ontario Provincial Police here on the Lake of the Woods. On the shore to the right is Ontario Ministry Buildings. We're here in Kenora. It used to house and be the central office for the Ministry of Natural Resources, but with the downsizing of the government, they made enough room so pretty well all of the Ontario ministries are located here. On the point where you see that clearing, that used to be where they would have their first attack helicopters land and be used in fighting forest fires. With the advent of the water bombers, all of that was moved out to the airport. Coming up on the right-hand side is Kenora's water treatment plant. We have a large supply of relatively clean, fresh water here in the Lake of the Woods. So with a little chlorination and a slight filtration, it's fit for human consumption. So good, in fact, is the water here in the Lake of the Woods that Winnipeg draws its entire water source from the Lake of the Woods. The water empties into Shoal Lake, where it enters an aqueduct system and travels entirely by gravity to the city of Winnipeg. So if you're friends who are heading up to the lake, you're geographically correct as proven by the aqueduct system. small circular building on the shoreline on your right-hand side is the Lakeside Inn. That is built entirely over top of the Lake of the Woods. You see, they came down on top of the ice, drilled through the ice, and anchored the poles into the ground. They built a total structure above the water. Now, it opened back in 1969. In behind the hotel, you will see the large building known as the Kenora Wellness Center. Here they have a full-size covered ice hockey rink, a full-size Olympic swimming pool, as well as saunas, weight rooms, and training room, everything you'd expect. Now, they even have, in behind, you can see an area for the kids to go. They have a skateboard park. If you look over to the right-hand side, you'll see the small bridge. Under that small bridge, there are some docks. This is the only safe way in North America that you can go do all of your shopping by boat. Just another way we live here on the Lake of the Woods. As we go along the shoreline, you'll see the Bank of Montreal, and also a little further along, you'll see the gray steeple of the Anglican Diocese Church. Now, it's called a cathedral because there's a bishop in residence here, and I was corrected one time when I called it a church, and by the bishop himself when he advised me it's not a church if a bishop's in residence. Now, directly behind that, you will find Kenora's museum, the lightly red-brown brick building. Well worth your stop. It's been voted one of the top 10 museums for many years. Moving along a little further, the light brown brick building you see is the district headquarters for the OPP. Originally, that's where they were located, but they've now been moved out to the Highway 17. The brown brick building behind you see is Kenora's Courthouse, Superior Court.
The next commentary we're going to listen to will be about the Grey Sand 2, which is a beautiful antique wooden boat, which is normally parked at this boathouse coming up here on our right-hand side, that gray one with the word Marine on it. Grey Sand 2 is inside there getting some much-needed repairs. If you want to see a depiction of the Grey Sand 2, you can go to the Scotia Bank, which isn't far from our dock, and there's a beautiful mural there showing the Grey Sand 2. The history is quite significant and worth listening to, so we're going to let you have a listen to that.
The large wooden yacht you see tied to the wharf is known as the Grey Sand 2. She was built in 1931 by the famed Ditchburn boat builders in Gravenhurst, Ontario. The hull was put on a rail car, delivered here, where it was finished. Now, originally, she was a birthday present from Mr. John Forland's wife, Grace Ann. Well, they ran this as their own private yacht for many years, but finally was sold off to Salisbury Cruise Company. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the same people that own the Salisbury restaurants in Winnipeg. Well, they ran it as a floating resort for many years, and it was taken over by the 3M company and used as a corporate retreat. Well, with the downsizing a number of years ago, it was turned over to the employees, and they ran it as a resort. Well, finally, it's been bought out by a private businessman. It's still available for charter, and if you would like, you can call the Grey Sand, and you and 8 of your friends can book it for 3 nights and 4 days for $30,000 plus US. As we pull up to our dock, ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice all the float planes tied up here. Well, these float planes service the north. Many of the isolated communities and resorts that have no road access are serviced here. Now, many times you will find otters, you will find Twin Beach Cessnas. These are the workhorses of the north. So if you're interested in going on a sightseeing tour, ladies and gentlemen, make your way on down to the docks. Either of the 2 businesses there, they would love to take you for a tour. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings our tour to an end today. On behalf of the captain and crew of the MS Kenora, we would all like to thank you for sailing with us today. We hope you enjoyed yourselves. Remember to keep an eye on our website for future special cruises, such as the Sioux Narrows trip that we make 3 times a year. We hope that you tell all of your friends the great time you had here on the Lake of the Woods, and you send them all here, and we hope to see you again as well. As we pull up to the dock, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you to please stay where you're seated, as we don't want everybody leaning over to the one side as we do this final maneuver.